Hey, Dooberteers, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited today to have a good friend of mine, Jordan Craig, on. An interesting fact about Jordan, she actually started in this industry on, what was it, Jordan? Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, working at a small animal shelter, just trying to get her foot in the door. And now she's COO of an organization called Operation Kindness. So I'll have her explain more about that. But Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on. So why don't you give us a little bit of you and tell us about your role, tell us about Operation Kindness, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I have now been in this crazy industry that, like you said, I kind of reluctantly got into. Um, let's see, more than 15 years ago. When I got out of school, I really wanted to be involved in wildlife and in zoos. But when I moved to Texas from Indiana, I was not getting my foot in the door anywhere. And so I was trying to get into different wildlife, different zoos, and thankfully someone saw my resume that worked at a little shelter. And so I worked there for a period of time, but I really wanted to work at the bigger municipal shelter. And that bigger shelter, I applied 5 or 6 different times for it and finally got an interview for the overnight shift that was part-time. And I did this while I also waited tables. But the first shift they gave me was Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. So I started at 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve. It was also, ironically, the week that they closed the drop night boxes in Austin when they were moving to kind of that no-kill 21-point plan. So it was a very interesting time to be involved and engaged in the municipal shelter. But here I am more than 15 years later, and I'm working at Operation Kindness Humane Society. I am the chief operating officer, and Operation Kindness is doing some really amazing work we are actually celebrating our 50th year this year, which is crazy. We started very small grassroots group. And at this point, we just looked at our calendar year numbers and we impacted more than 80,000 pets last year. And
Wow.
it has grown from that grassroots efforts to an amazing adoption center to now also having remarkable community programming. We are doing pet food pantries. We are doing community events. We have traveling teams that support throughout the state, sometimes beyond the state of Texas. We also make sure that one of the biggest gaps we've seen over the last few years in our shelter partners and animals getting their lives saved is medical support and honestly different kinds of insights into shelter support. And so our teams every day go out to different shelters in the Metroplex and make sure that animals can get spayed and neutered, they can get exams. We have an amazing team that they'll show up and the guinea pig needs to be fixed and they get it done for the shelter partners so that those animals can make it to their next step in the adoptive homes. So we are always looking for new and exciting things to do and really proud of the work that Operation Kindness has done over the last 50 years.
Wow. I mean, 50 years is a long time. I obviously had heard of Operation Kindness, didn't realize it'd been around that long.
Yes, it is crazy. Started just small, couple people that wanted to save some animals, and here we are. It has exponentially grown since Ed Jamison took the helm in 21 as well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you said last year you had an impact on the lives of more than 80,000 animals. I mean, that's even hard for me to wrap my head around when you think about the volume of that. Take us back, Jordan. I mean, have you always been somebody that knew from day one you wanted to save animals, help animals? Was there a moment, was there an animal along the way that really said, that's my career path?
I was definitely the kid that picked up everything that I found. Including when I'd walk out the dogs, I would pick up things like owl scat and different pieces like that. Like I loved the natural world, but I did bring 2 different cats home in my soccer bag. The the first one, my parents made me rehome with the neighbor. They were like, no, because we had 2 very senior cats at the time. But the second one, they finally let me keep. And I loved cats and dogs. I grew up in a house with 5 or 6 at all times. And really, between my grandparents, my parents, everyone were animal lovers. So when I went to school, I wanted to do things in primatology. I really wanted to be involved in just kind of the natural world and different things. But obviously, I didn't end up in that route. Part of the reason when I was at school, I adopted a cat, which pigeon probably is the reason I am involved in the way I am today, because I was a sophomore in college and I went to the little local shelter to adopt her. I actually went just to look to see what cats were there, but I really missed having a cat in my life. My roommates had dogs. And I fell in love with this one cat, and then they told me I couldn't have her. And I'm very stubborn. And I was like, what do you mean? And they even told me she was at risk because she'd been with them for several months. She'd come in as a kitten. She was 9 months at that point.
Okay.
She'd just been overlooked as a part of a litter. And they were like, yeah, her time might be coming near. And I was like, but you're telling me I can't take her. And they said they didn't adopt to college students. And they made me jump through a bajillion hoops. Like, again, my roommates had dogs, so they called their vets to verify that the roommates' dogs were up to date on their vaccines. They called my landlord, who thankfully was my dad. I had not told him what I was doing, but when I called and they called, he understood pretty quickly.
Figured it out.
And yeah, he figured I was like, okay. He's like, you're doing this? And I was like, yes, I'm doing this. And he was like, okay. He's like, honestly, I'm surprised it took you that long. So they talked to him. They ended up, they're like, well, it's this amount of money. They pushed all of the buttons, and I did get to leave with her that day. I moved with her more than 10 times, at least to different places throughout both Texas, and we moved her from Indiana down to Texas. She passed away, unfortunately, at 16, but, I had that cat through everything. And I did, when I was in school, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go to Africa to do different things with primates and leave my cat. So I found out I was very housebound and I wanted to stay at home with my animals. And I think that kind of speaks to where I ended up. But it also is, when I got into the industry, open adoptions has been something that has spoken to me from the get-go, because I cannot believe the number of animals that have not gotten their opportunity throughout our industry. And it's very frustrating to me.
So I'm curious. I mean, you're somebody who most of her career has been in this industry. I mean, what
Yep.
lessons did you learn early on that you still rely on or apply today?
I think, I literally worked the night shift. I cleaned kennels all night long. I think it was just to pour myself into any role that I was given, any opportunity, and to keep pushing for more things and to ask questions. I very early on, I would ask, why are we doing it this way? And a lot of times the answer would be, oh, we've always done it that way. And I was like, well, I want to try something slightly different. And I just kept asking. And I was really eager to get continued education to make sure that I knew best practices, to go to Texas Unites conferences and learn from other experts, and to really just kind of put myself forward. I've learned through my time that when I don't know something, that's actually a great opportunity to then better myself. Because even though I've had success in my career, I know that I don't know it all. And I want to continue kind of just filling that up. And even, think about it, 5 years ago today, what was best maybe before the pandemic is not the best practice now. We need to continue reevaluating everything.
That's a really good point. I mean, like a lot of things in 2020, when the world changed for animal welfare as well. And
Yep.
I mean, it's funny. I remember prior to the pandemic, you couldn't order your groceries and have them get picked up. Right now, it's like the norm. I don't think anybody goes to the grocery store anymore. There's more people in the parking lot waiting for their groceries. And now you think about what we did in animal sheltering and had to pivot when you couldn't do as much stuff in person. And a lot of those best practices still are in place.
And I remember it was probably like 2016, 2017, trying to get more information on kennel cards by putting a QR code there. No one could figure out how to use a QR code. Like, now we put QR codes on everything and no one thinks twice about it. But
Yeah.
that was a challenge that we were trying out early on, and it just didn't land because people weren't ready. But now it's common day.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of interesting how things evolve.
Mhm.
So as a top dog, as a leader in this, I mean, it's a very compassion and sometimes very heartbreaking industry. How do you motivate your team on those toughest days?
I think it's about touching and doing the best you possibly can for any of those. You're not going to be able to necessarily save every single animal, but showing those animals and the people around them compassion in their worst moments so that they have that warm place. I know when I transitioned from working in Austin to working at Dallas Animal Services, I had several people that had asked me, like, oh, you're going to have to go euthanize a bunch of animals. Like, why would you do that? I was like, I'm looking at it as I have the opportunity to save so many more animals. Here, like, yes, the exponential, like, we're talking about an 18,000 intake going up to a 40,000 intake. And I was excited for that. I was like, think of all the lives that I can save there. And telling my team that and sharing them is to not dwelling on the ones that we didn't succeed or where we didn't succeed, and making sure we learn from those moments to help the greater good.
Yeah. Yeah, this is hard, right? I mean, we know you cannot save everyone. Situations are different, just the way things work. But that's a good approach. I mean, you you look at it from a positive lens, right, as to how
Yes.
much you actually can do, and you recognize that you're doing more than you're saving more than if nothing had been done. You wouldn't be saving that many lives.
And I truly believe, and I'll tell the people that I'm around, that your story is your reality.
Mm.
So if you're telling yourself that you're failing, you're going to feel like you're failing all the time. But really having that can do, like, we can figure this out because we figured it out before.
Yeah,
So we will figure it out again. And there will be hard times, there will be hard work that has to go into it. But I truly believe we can pivot and succeed at just about anything in this industry. So,
yeah, I do as well. I think there's a lot more opportunity to change things and make the process better for the people and the animals and yeah, all of that together. What,
yeah.
Jordan, what's the most frequently asked piece of advice and what's the answer? What do people ask you a lot?
I get a lot of I'm kind of a history and a data geek, so I get a lot of questions around either some random old historical information that they've heard me talk about, or about like how I understand and kind of can view the different pieces as I'm looking at things. And I love puzzles, so I always tell people, like, everyone has their different perspective on data and those different pieces, but collect everything, because you never know where you're going to see the trend line. You never know what's going to actually be impactful. So it's better to start tracking something and then figure out what it means later, or decide you're going to pivot from that. But I think really the more metrics you can get, the better for everyone. It's really amazing. And this was done before I got to Operation Kindness. There's an incredible team that does data there, which I have a bajillion Power BI reports that I can go to and look at exactly where animals are in stages and where we are at different capacity. And it allows us to be more nimble, because where it used to just be based on feelings, now a lot of it can be based on facts, because that truly saves more lives.
Yeah, it's a really good point. In the corporate world, we talk about what gets measured gets done, right? The
Yep.
data, and that's exactly it. You get a lot of conjecture, you get a lot of emotion driven things that people say, but you can't refute facts, right? When you can show the number of animals, just like you were quoting, impacted 80,000 animals, that doesn't come from you just kind of, yeah, I think it's probably about this. That's coming from hard data that says, here are the services that we provided, here are the actual animals that we provided them to.
Yep. We feel full. I love when we got out of the pandemic, when a shelter animal count looked at, like, everyone's saying they feel full, but we're seeing less intakes. Why does everyone feel full? And then they were like, look, length of stay is down or is up. That's the answer. You feel full because things are staying with you longer.
Hmm.
So, I mean, those things can help perspective as well. And you can speak to your community about them. You can show, we are seeing animals arriving at our shelter for these reasons. This is what we need to do to build a future where we don't need as many animals to have the safety net of the shelters, and to really work on some of those projects.
Yeah. No, I know Operation Kindness is in the Dallas area. Tell us about the community that you serve. What is life like for animals in the community? What are the people like? Tell us some of the challenges.
The main shelter for Operation Kindness Humane Society is up in Carrollton, which is in Dallas County still. And it has been up in that kind of region for many decades now. And Carrollton is definitely one of the suburbs of Dallas. It's not quite the same dynamics as we see in the city of Dallas, but you see a lot of the same need. And a lot of our adopters come from there. We also have adoption centers all throughout the Metroplex at different Pet Supplies Plus stores, as well as PetSmart. We are working on a relationship with a Petco store as well. So we do touch a lot of different people that live throughout DFW. Our community initiatives work is primarily focused with either the partner shelters or the actual community, and we still focus a lot on the southern sector in Dallas, as well as the area that we are in Carrollton. We have a food pantry that has just been doing incredible work. It's growing year over year over the last few years because the need is growing, and it's actually a drive-through that's happening twice a week up at our Carrollton shelter. We partner in the southern sector in Dallas with Inspired Vision Compassion Center. They are a really impressive group that works with as a human food pantry as well as providing other services. And they started out of a parking lot, and now it's this big space that when you go in there, we host vaccine events in there. It's hysterical. People are always like, "What is this place?" And I'm like, "What isn't this place?" It's a place where people come to get things. It provides weekly food pantry. It provides medical services. They have like first moms classes, and then if you attend the class, you get the supplies. Like, it's really amazing the work they're doing in the community. And so we like to be in those areas that historically haven't had veterinary care or veterinary services, and to make those connections with the residents, because there is unfortunately so much need right now related to veterinary care and pet food. Things are just getting more and more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seems like prices are going up. I know I took one of our cats to the vet this morning and it's like, wow, like the prices just keep going up and up. But, and you and I both know, I mean, there's veterinary resource deserts across the country where you can't even find veterinarians, and there's not enough students going into veterinary medicine. And we got lots of challenges in this space.
Yeah, we are not keeping pace, and it is so unfortunate. And Dallas truly is divided by 30 that goes through the middle. And if you look at how many veterinary offices are even in the southern sector, it's a high volume spay neuter clinic, one other full service one, and that's about it. And that's in serving.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
So we're trying to build trust and fill the gap.
Nice. So Jordan, how is being the one of the top dogs, how has that changed you as a person? You started out your career, right, as somebody working in the shelter environment, and now you're leading the direction, the day-to-day operations in so many programs. How has that changed you?
I kind of still feel like the same person. I don't know. I obviously know a lot more as far as I have more to draw on as far as my life experiences. But at the end of the day, I feel like I can do more. I can impact more from where I sit now, because I can help build the change that maybe I wanted to see earlier on that I was not able to influence as well. I also can really push and encourage my team to continue fighting for those different things that maybe in the past they weren't able to ask for and to really speak up and have a voice about. I think that that's the biggest difference, is that I feel like I can get more done.
Nice. Yeah, I like that. You're setting the direction and you're able to drive this now through your team because they understand where you're going.
Yes.
Jordan, how do you take care of you?
That's always, something you work on. I think that is something I am better at now in my position, because I also acknowledge others look to me as an example. And I definitely was someone in the past that would be very proud about not using PTO and always having a ceiling on my comp time and different things like that. But acknowledging that I have to take care of myself first to model that to my employees is really important to me. I am still always working on that. I have been actually scheduling vacations over the last few years, which I hadn't done for a very long time.
Hmm,
Which,
that's good.
yeah, I also really have recently discovered that I like exercising again, which for a long time, when you get out of habits, you get out of habits and it's hard to restart. But as a kid, I was very engaged in sports, and it was something that really helped keep me focused and stimulated. And I've been getting back into doing daily exercise, and that helps me a lot with my morale.
Yeah. No, I am the same way. I find when I don't exercise, I don't sleep as well. I'm more
Yep.
irritated. It's a great way it's good for you, but it's also good for your mental health, I find. Takes
And,
some
and I
aggression out.
And just taking that bit of time for myself in the morning to kind of set up my day for success. I find on the days that I don't get up and do it, I feel more discombobulated throughout the days.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to kind of follow that structure more. And I've been better about it for the last year and a half. I feel like I'm on a good trajectory again.
Nice. That's
Mhm.
good. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So we're gonna now come to our lightning round questions. These are just
Ooh,
kind of fun little questions to learn a little bit more about you. So, puppy breath or kitten purrs? Which one
oh,
is the
kitten,
ultimate stress relief?
kitten purrs.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right. Do you have a go-to song when you need to get pumped up?
Um, Gotta Be by Desiree.
Okay. What is the most underrated part of an animal's personality that only comes out in a foster home environment?
Watching them actually sleep, like seeing them rest.
Yeah.
You don't ever see that at the shelter, really.
Yeah, you're right. There's that deep
Deep sleep.
relaxation, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Complete the sentence. Fostering doesn't just save a life.
Opens a kennel.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Opens for somebody else. It does so many things. That's a hard
Yeah.
one.
No, I totally get it. Jordan, this has been really interesting to hear about you, hear about what Operation Kindness is doing, all the great work. Is there anything else you want to mention or share before we wrap things up today?
I don't think so. I feel like we've covered a lot of pieces, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share a little bit about myself and our story, and really excited to see what's next on the horizon.
I'm with you. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. We're really glad to feature you, feature what Operation Kindness is doing. And of course, we're always looking for more people to get involved in animal welfare, to follow in your footsteps and learn more. So if you're interested and you want to be a foster, you can obviously foster for Operation Kindness. You can check out Doobert. We'll help point you in the right direction to help you find a new foster opportunity. So thank you, everybody, for joining, and we'll see you on the next show.